Alright everyone, welcome back to the How's Business podcast. Today I'm joined by none other than Buzz. Buzz is the leader, the front runner, the founder, everything here at Proform Physio. From the outside looking in, he has totally transformed the physio and health space just by being himself. His style, the way he approaches business, but more importantly, how he approaches his people, his staff, and how he expands while keeping that same image. So, Buzz, thanks for coming on the pod.
Thanks for having me, bro.
First things first, bro. How's business?
Business is good. In terms of where we are at the moment, we're 14, 15 years in. So we've been building for a while now, and we're at a point where we're scaling and opening up locations just to meet the demand of the market. But we've really refined our processes. Our team are great. And we're taking care of our own house before we go ahead and expand elsewhere. So business is good. We're in a good place at the moment.
Beautiful, bro. Backstep me a little bit. Where did it all start with the physio space? Did you always know that you were going to become a physio? When did the love for it start, and when did it sort of become fact that, okay, I'm going to start my own practice sort of things?
Yeah. So the reason I got into physio is because I was always injured. I was just playing all the sports you could think of, basketball, soccer, taekwondo, and always had something that was going on, whether it be an ankle sprain. One of my biggest injuries is an ACL. And just knowing that there are people out there that could help me get back to what I loved was something that I resonated with highly. You know, I owe a lot to the physios that have helped me with my sport along the way. And some of my best moments have been in the physio room. And so I kind of thought, well, I'm always injured. I might as well become a physio. And so that sparked the interest in becoming a physio. And then knowing that, there isn't really a ceiling when it comes to business, that if you started your own practice, you can make as much money as you would like. And, I've always wanted to do right by my parents, being Filipino, growing up in the West, and, your parents come here to offer a better lifestyle, and I owed it to them to build a career or a business that would financially set me and my future family up for success. And so owning a business from day one was always on the cards. So I decided if I'm going to do a physio career, or if I'm going to go down the path of building a physiotherapy career, then it needs to be in business from day one. And so that's how I started.
Yeah, so how long what type of course were you doing in uni to become qualified as a physio? And then did you work as a physio before you started your own practice? Like how was the journey there?
Yeah, so I went to university to do the physiotherapy course. It's a 4-year course, really hard to get into. There's a lot of demand to be a physio, and so the ATAR is like 98.5. I think it's up higher nowadays. And so you go to uni, you do your 4 years. In my final year, I did my honours degree, so I wrote a dissertation on Liz Frank ligament injuries in athletes. And then I graduated. Now, in the last few months of uni, I was doing like physio assistant work for the King's School, working at a practice in Carlingford and Kellyville. And so I just kind of built my reps up from the very beginning. And then the day of my graduation, or the day I was qualified as a physio, I started working at home in my parents' living room, treating people that I knew that needed help with injuries and pain. And that's where it all began.
That's where it all began, in your parents' living room?
My parents' living room, man. We just closed the doors of the front living room. I had my friends and family come over to get treatment. I had a little high caps machine on my study desk in the living room.
Nice.
But it was just really weird, We'd have randoms knocking on my door going, hey, I heard you're a physio, do you mind treating me? And so it wasn't really a feasible spot to run a practice, but it was a good start. And in addition to that, I was traveling with a bed and driving to different gyms and, helping people at their own houses just to get ahead and get my reps up. And my niche at the time was just the gym space. Yeah. Loved going to the gym, loved training, loved being active. And so I stuck to my strengths and treated those that needed help in those spaces.
So it's obvious to see that you're very passionate about physio. Where did the passion for... There's one thing being a good physio, and there's another thing being a good business owner. Where did the passion for business come from, and where was it, or when was it that you came out of sort of the living room space and opened up your first actual studio?
Yeah. I think in business it's kind of like right place, right time. And at that time, as I said, it was really awkward that I was seeing people at my own house and everyone knew where I was living, and I've never met people before. And at the time, I had a keen interest in CrossFit. And so I started doing classes at a CrossFit gym in Seven Hills, and I loved it, right? And the owner ended up injuring himself. And he was like, hey man, I need your help. I heard you're a physio. Can you help me upstairs? I got a space there, no one in there. We can just use it real quick. And I was like, yes, sure. Well, let me bring a bed and let me help you out. And so I helped him. He loved it, was a raving fan of the work I was doing. And so he told everyone in the gym. And all of a sudden, I was busier in my own little side hustle gig upstairs of a CrossFit gym than I was working full time for another space out at Rudy Hill. And that's when I got the bug. I was like, wow, you know, I'm busier here and I'm making twice, if not 3 times more money working for myself. But at the same time, I do have a lot to learn. And so that's why I kept my full-time job whilst doing this. But I got the bug because it was a new challenge. And, you know, naturally, I'm very competitive, a high achiever, as you do when you're trying to, you know, make up for what your parents have risked getting here. And so yeah, I was like, cool, new challenge unlocked. I'm keen. I'm down. Let's roll with it. And so moving out of the home to a actual space was you know, a very tricky but very rewarding experience.
A lot of guests on the podcast, they talk about that moment where they went from 9 to 5, or they went from working for someone else to their own business, and that leap of faith across to, okay, it's just me now. This is all I've got to make money, I've got to feed my family, sort of thing. Do you remember your first week of solo, no longer working for someone else, and do you remember the feelings you had, and what was the thing that made you jump the most?
Yeah, I guess at that stage when I did do that, which is the start, I didn't give up my full-time job, and I had the luxury of having that security. If all things fail, I've still got a full-time job. But it came a time where, like, I was just doing too much. I was working full-time for someone, working 9 to 5, but then I was working for myself 5 to 9, and then I'd fit a bit of training in at the end of it, you know, from 9 to 10, just to be, you know, do a bit of CrossFit and done. It just became too overwhelming. And so I had to make a decision, and I was like, you know what, I've got to give up something. And that was, at that time, I've learned everything I needed from these guys that helped me for my full-time work, finished up that, and it was like, cool, I'm going to do this. However, there was a bit of a side quest, okay? One of the things I really loved at the time as well was CrossFit. Did it for a few years, realized like community is everything. And when you've got a strong sense of community, you just want to be part of it. And I had a friend of mine working with me upstairs. He was a massage therapist, and both of us really are men of faith, and we wanted to use what we had in our hands to, you know, basically spread the good news and share our faith with the community. And we just started doing workouts before church where we would invite people and then invite people to church. And it came to a point where it was like, holy moly, this is our community. And so, side quest, we decided to open a gym, a CrossFit gym. And the only way I was able to do that was to give up my full-time job and my physio business that I worked so hard to build up myself in order to do what we felt we were called to do. So that leap was scary. Because I had to tell everybody that I'm leaving. I had to tell the gym that I'm opening up my own gym, which a lot of people did not agree with and were not happy with. And so I was like, just like I had a lot to lose in terms of the momentum I've gained, but you know, there's a big step of faith there. But I'm glad I did it. You know, I still remember the feelings. The first day of like not being fully employed and on your own, you feel a bit weird. It's like you're so used to stress and tension and time that you like time you don't have, and to all of a sudden have all this time. It's scary. Even though it's good, it's unfamiliar. And I was just packing nuggets, bro, just trying to figure out how am I going to get through the uncertainty of having all this time. Don't blow it. What I was like thinking about and feeling. So it was a good time, but a stressful time, just to try and get all my ducks in a row, get the strategy going, and learning to execute on my own.
How soon after the CrossFit venture did Proform start?
So Proform started, and then we did the CrossFit thing, which I put Proform on pause. I would say a good year or two of just focusing on the gym. That was when I launched Proform again. Because we opened up in a little garage. There was no place for me to set up a bed, and even if I did, it would be like 1 or 2 people. But we soon, after 6 months, moved to a bigger location, and after about 1 or 2 years of just doing that, we're like, okay, it's time. Let's open up the space up top of this gym, and let's actually run it again. And so 1 to 2 years, I believe, was when we relaunched Proform, and it was just me.
Yeah. So next part of the podcast, or next part of the conversation, which is what everyone wants to sort of get the most out of, is the business sort of strategies, the business imaging, everything that we do as business owners. So when I came into Proform today, it's my first time here, I felt instantly relaxed. It's like nothing I've ever been to in terms of physio spaces before. Former athlete, I did my ACL, I've done my wrist, done my neck, I've had all the injuries in the book. I've never felt as ease as when I came into here. How did you sort of come up with your business image, first of all, and how did you stay true to your business image going forward? How did you even come up with this sort of vibe?
The vibe. Yeah. Like, I'm a big believer, if you're going to do something that's yours, it has to reflect you, because you're going to have your founder thumbprint on it. And so when people come through to your business, they need to be able to feel and experience like, oh yeah, this is totally Buzz. And things that I really enjoyed was really good experiences. You know, when you go into a place, it looks amazing. It's because health is holistic in nature. It's not just, you know, musculoskeletal, I've injured this muscle and that's it. It's the mental side, it's the emotional side, it's like how you make people feel, that most businesses that thrive get it right. So we wanted to create like long-lasting experiences for our people, so when they walk through the door, they feel refreshed, calm, like their life's about to change. So I just had a list of things that really reflected who I was and what I loved and the passions that I had. And I was like, what if we could create something that is different? You know, it's unique in a sense that it does achieve the same outcomes, but in our own flavor or way. And I reckon that's the most exciting thing about business, is we have the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
So so to come up with Proform, originally it started as me wanting to just work with professional athletes. So performance, professional, and focusing on form was one thing. But as you know, in business, the tides change, things evolve. The appetite for your ideal patient avatar changes with the times and the landscape, and so you need to evolve with it, like good brands do. And so mine kind of transitioned from just performance to like fully understanding how the body works.
Yeah.
And I had this sense that we're missing something if we only just focused on pain. But what about the mental side and the experiential side, and the freshness of a space? You know, they say to change your life, change your environment. How can we create an environment where people feel healthy? And so coming into places like, you know, fancy hotels and, you know, your favorite clothing brand stores, I drew inspiration from the stuff that I love, fashion, architecture and design. And I was like, how can I put that into what we know about physio and create something new, novel, almost a category of own practice that people go, this is different and I want to be part of it.
Definitely feel the hotel vibe when I walked in.
Yeah.
I felt like I was smelling like a Shangri-La or something like that. It's good. Those little things go a long way.
You do.
And I can tell it has your personality, which is good.
Yeah.
Which I feel like a lot of business owners just copy something that they see online, and you can tell it's not authentic to them. So it's very rare that you come to a space like this is authentically someone, and then they meet you or they meet your staff, like that makes sense. Like this, I want to be a part of this sort of thing. Speaking of image and sort of vibe, how did you attract your people to match your vibe? Because a traditional physio might not be used to this. How did you sort of bring the people that you have now, the amazing staff that you have now, on board, and how did you sort of attract them to your business?
Yeah. One thing that I know about businesses and all the books that I've read is that people don't leave bad businesses, they leave bad people, bad managers. And so from the get-go, if I'm going to build a team, I want people that have the right character traits of like a good person would have. You know, because you can teach skill and all that sort of stuff, but you can't really teach the character things that take years to develop. So when we were hiring and building a team, we knew exactly what type of person we wanted in here, and then we had a strategy for building all the hard skills that are necessary to understand, like how to diagnose properly, how to treat well, how to manage injuries and plan ahead, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how we built it, and we had just made a commitment to always make sure when we're making decisions of the type of business we want to run, or even just the type of people we want to hire, that they align with our values.
Yeah.
And values aren't something you just pick from the air. They kind of need to be aligned with the experiences and stories that you have gone through and share. And because then it now becomes authentic to you. So if we understood our vision, our mission, what we're about, and what are the key things that really reflect who we are in terms of values, then those are the sorts of things we look for and attract to us, because we ask those sorts of questions in the interview process, or even when we advertise. We're looking for someone who is coachable. We're looking for someone who cares more about their people than themselves. Those sorts of questions are the things that attract the right audience. Because you're right, you can't just take cookie cutter approaches to build your own thing. You got to figure out, well, what do you want and need, and then let's pitch that out there, cast out, an invitation to join something different.
How many years have you been in business now?
15 now.
15 years? Yeah, wow. In the beginning phases, like most of the listeners are listening, what was the sort of hurdle that you had to come through first? I know my hurdle was payroll.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know how it worked, didn't know about super and tax and all the percentages and this and that. And that took me years to get over, how to do it properly. What was one of the first hurdles that you sort of were met with and you didn't necessarily like it or have a passion for it, but you had to go through it as a business owner?
Yeah, definitely being organized, right? Because you don't go, for me personally, I knew I wanted to do business, but at uni they don't teach you how to run a business, they teach you how to treat people.
Yep.
And so I was really good at my craft, but the back end, and you see this all the time, right? You start off as the technician, you do the good work, people love it, and you're working for someone, and you think to yourself, I can do this myself. Then you go off and you do it yourself, and all of a sudden you're a business person, you're held accountable for this business, but no one's taught you the skills to do that. So you make mistakes along the way. My biggest mistake definitely was to do with the numbers, understanding the metrics and what measure what actually matters. And just the fear of charging what I need to charge. I thought that people wanted to just get good discounts and that's what makes a good business. But actually it's the transformation that you bring and then charging accordingly because it makes sense. I was really lucky because at the time I was dating someone who is now my wife.
Nice.
She is a chartered accountant.
Oof.
That's why I married her. No,
yeah.
She is a chartered accountant, and she was able to see things that were I was completely oblivious to.
That's amazing.
In terms of putting aside money for tax and making sure you have enough cash flow, doing my BAS and submitting my BAS, which I didn't do.
Yep.
And I still remember, man, just having this massive tax bill that I had no idea existed. I could have bought a car with that. And I was like, what the heck? So we had to backtrack to pay that off, and that slowed a few things down. But if I knew that from the start, that definitely would have been a much more easier ride.
Preaching to the choir, man. Definitely when it comes to BAS and tax and all that, it's a whole different realm. Like I did commerce in uni, I did business degree, and they didn't even teach you that.
That's crazy.
They did accounting, but it was all algorithms. It wasn't actually telling you this is what a BAS is. This is your obligations as a business owner. And that's where a lot of business owners get trapped. So you're very lucky that you had your now wife.
Yeah.
To anyone listening, if you haven't looked into that realm of business, don't just start business and run with it. That you can get excited, you just start running your business, but you have to learn about these things. Go see a proper chartered accountant, talk to someone, talk to another business owner like we're talking. Goes a long way, saves you a lot of money, right?
Absolutely. Get your structures right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Especially if you have big goals and big aspirations to achieve, and you're going to achieve them. Because you just don't want to be in that position where things either slow or you've got to close up shop because you're way too far ahead. Yeah. So definitely agree with you on that.
In terms of branding, something I'm excited to talk to you about because there's not many people in the space doing this. Your photography, your videography, your style, the editing, the reels with the lighting and all that, were you always passionate about videography itself, or was it something that you had to develop?
No, I was definitely passionate about it. I actually injured myself and broke a bone in my foot, and that put me in a wheelchair, and I had nothing to do except go to the gym and find a passion project.
Yeah.
And at the time, cameras were all the rave. Getting a 5D Mark II was like the pinnacle of being a creator back then and starting a YouTube channel and whatever. So I bought a camera, went on to, I think is it Heidi.com or something, and just learned how to film and photo and position, how to edit your photos using Aperture, Final Cut Pro, and I did that for church, just as a thing that I could do on the side to get me up to scratch with it. And yeah, I just loved learning a new skill. And in hindsight, it's definitely what's got us ahead today, is to habit stack my skills from then and use them now and leverage off those to really build a personal brand online, which has been awesome.
When you talk about personal brand, something I've noticed about you is you have a personal brand, but so do your staff. And I think you're ahead of the curve in that sort of instance. Run me through the sort of conversation or the education that you give a staff member about how important it is to have their own brand, but also how involved are you with their brands itself?
Yeah, I'm a big believer, man, like with physiotherapy or chiropractic care, like people don't buy physiotherapy, they buy physiotherapists. It's the people that you put your trust in, not in businesses, which is why people prefer to follow LeBron James over Nike or Elon over Tesla, because it's the people that we're most attracted to, that we like, know, and will trust. So I think it'd be silly in this day and age if you're not creating a personal brand for yourself, no matter what you do. Whether you're running a business or you're going to run a business one day or you're working for someone, you're going to get so much leverage just building that now, and it's a bit of a long-term game, so it takes time to build. So my discussion with my practitioners is that, guys, we got to build our own, right? And I understand the risk that people might go off and kind of do their own business, but that risk is worth it if I'm going to be able to invest into my team, because that is my duty of care anyway. Is to serve them at the highest level. So to do that is to create a foundation. We're all building our personal brand, and we invest about 2 hours a week to build people's personal brands. I invest
2 hours a week?
Yeah. I get them to create content, from scripting to editing to posting, to content strategy for their own personal brands and how to then collaborate with ours to then leverage off our audience. And they're just like ideation. So like coming up with content ideas, we map that out. We're in this place at the moment where we want to all create little courses for each practitioner's niche, where they really do their best work, they love it, people know them for this particular thing, and there's a massive gap in the market. If we can solve that and create a brand around that in their little entrepreneurship inside this business, then we can take that risk, pay for all that sort of stuff, because everybody wins. They win, they create a future for themselves with their own brand asset, which is themselves. Their patients win because they're able to impact people in person and online. And then we win as a business because we've been part of that process, and we make a little bit from that as well. And so then we can take that and then continue to do more stuff. So I think it's important, and you'd be silly not to. Like back in the day, you used to pay for Google ads, and the amount of eyes you could get on something is depending on how much dollars you spend. You've got to be really good at it. But with organic content and social media, it's all free. It, like the amount of people that you get your eyes on this sort of stuff, like it's out of this world. Millions of people could get their eyes on your stuff just because of one piece of valuable content. So we play that game and we work to our strengths. In terms of business, one of my favorite questions to ask is, you started a business and then you go through this little lonely chapter where it's just you. At the beginning, everyone's cheering for you and go do your thing, we wish you the best. But in that middle period where it's just you working on the business, what sort of got you through that middle period to where you could actually start paying yourself and actually start getting some of the fruits from your labor? Was it someone in your life? Was it a quote in your head? What sort of pushed you through that little middle period, which is the hardest period? I think it's that saying, like, you got to experience hell before you experience what heaven's like, right? It's like you got to take the good with the bad, and it's a huge risk to go into business. You don't go into it expecting things are going to always be good. You have to be prepared to go through the crap in order to get to the end goal, your end point. And most people aren't willing to do that, which is why business it's not for everybody. Not everybody's cut out for it. But those that are the ones that are willing and understand that you have to go through the refining process. Any product you sell, you don't know if it's good unless you take it out there. So you've got to be willing to fail and fail fast. And that's an uncomfortable thing, to know that you got it wrong. But I don't think anybody ever gets things perfect, and so it's more of an insecurity thing. So what got me through it is just understanding that, like, this is just part of it. This is the cost of being in business, is you got to be willing to be in front of the camera, be awkward, make mistakes, know that people know that you didn't get it right. But if you're willing to go through that, you will succeed. It's just, you either win or you learn is basically the mantra that I took with me during those hard periods. It's a good mantra to have. It's a very good mantra to have. And one of my other favorite questions is, I want you to tell me, in your head, think of it, your best day in business ever and your worst day in business ever. We'll start with the best day in business ever. Okay. What jumps out to your head, like, right now? Well, it's probably just the recency bias of what I'm working on at the moment. At the moment, I'm at a phase in business where I've done this bit to build the business up. We're now building the people up in our business and making sure we're taking care of our house. And these businesses are growing, which is great. You then get to a point where the feelings change from, like, overwhelmed to feeling trapped to now feeling in control to now, like, thriving. And when you hit that thriving phase, you kind of go, well, what's next? How can I continue to use my skills and experience and, like, continue to give back to people? Because money's just a number, and you kind of get to a point where it's like, how much do you actually need, right? So I'm at that point right now where I want to, what they call shift from success to significance. How can I leave something for my team or the people that I could potentially serve? And it's allied health founders to do the same. And so for me, one of the best things with the current business I'm running, which is our business coaching for allied health founders, is that I just launched my first cohort, and we had 24 people sign up to it, which is awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And it was like high ticket. So it was like $10,000 was the service offering to get people to 30K a month working just 4 days a week. And so, imagine making 240K in just 10 days.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing for me, the potential, but also it was like a gentle reminder for me for like how far we've come. To even think about that 14 years ago is just like out of this world. I'd be like, there's no way. And so I feel very blessed that we've gone through so much to get to this point, and excited that this is only just the beginning. So good day in business.
That is very exciting, and I did see the things you were doing with sort of that, and I do like how you framed that you started going from success to significance. Can you sort of run me through in your mind, because a lot of people feel this barrier about giving back to people that they don't know, or helping others make money when they're considered competition. What in your mind is the importance of giving back? I know that you are doing a course and stuff, but there's so much free information that you're giving every week just in general in your personal brand that helps me, and I'm not even in the physio space. So where do you find that, what's the boundaries that people sort of face giving more information for free, and why do you do it so easily? Why do you think you do it so easily?
Man, it's a huge insecurity that people have, is that like they have a scarcity mindset, that there is a limited amount of people out there that can be seen or need to be seen for physio or help with their injury. And so, everything that they can get their hands on is so important. But if we can shift the gears to go, well, actually, how many people are in this space right now? How many people are actually out there? There's just way too many to count. How many people are injured? And then how many people could I possibly take on? I would not be able to, even if I was full and my practitioners were full, not even scratch the surface of being able to accommodate to all the injured people out there. So there's just way too many people to service. And I think business is better when we win together, right? And there's just so much that we can learn from each other, and just understand that we're all different. So the reason why I don't see others as competition is that because what I do and what they do is so different in terms of like this kind of space and the way we run business, it's just different flavors. We all do the same thing. We appeal to someone's appetite and achieve it and satisfy someone's hunger for getting out of pain, just in a different way. So rather than being angry that we're different, why don't we just celebrate that we all have a unique way of doing things, and let's just go with it,
The unity, yeah.
It's a community, and I'd much rather be part of a community to celebrate, someone doing something different to help the thing. Because if we all have the same goal, and the goal is to help people, then we should all be on the same plane here to, do it our way, in a different way. It's not better or worse, it's just different.
Just different.
And that's what I believe is, like, if you're going to build a practice of one, a category of one practice, that there is no competition. So there's no reason to fight. You're not comparing apples with apples, and that's okay. So I think for me, it's just getting over that insecurity that, okay, everyone's like me. And that's the thing, is that you're not a commodity when you're a practice of one. There is no comparison, so we don't have to worry. We don't have to argue. We can just go along our ways, celebrate each other.
Circling back, worst day in business.
Okay. Worst day in business would have to be when, let's have a think.
The worst ever day running your business.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty crazy stories.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you one. One that like freaked us out big time was that a friend of mine, we launched a business together, another physio clinic, and what happened was we decided to open up a space inside like a UFC gym in Parramatta, okay? And we had everything set up, everything's ready to go. We had expensive equipment like your game ready, normal tech, all that in our room. We just did a fit out, and it looked schmick, it was awesome. Okay, place was pumping, patients were booming, we had new hires, and so we're like, cool, we've got everything we need. And then a massive flood happened, and it washed out everything. The whole gym had to close, but all our equipment got damaged. All of our fit out had to be redone, and we didn't have anywhere to put our current employees that we started to hire anywhere. And so we were just like, what do we do? We've just lost money, we're burning money, and we have no idea as to how long this is going to take to get back up and running. And so it was a very crazy day for us to go, we're going to have to close down. Well, we found a way, but geez, that was so scary, man, because the other side of it is we weren't sure if we needed insurance or if our insurance was covered with this, because it was like an act of God. And so you don't really know, right? You don't really, and we didn't have a buffer either, because we just started the business. So a lot of scary thoughts there, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of money lost, and that was the most money I lost ever in business, and that was super scary, man.
That's definitely the worst day in business. That's definitely the worst day in business.
And my business partner at the time, he was off doing stuff with Tennis Australia, so I had to figure all this out by myself.
Been there.
And that was like, it was hell.
That's nuts, man. That's nuts. Thanks for sharing that.
That's okay.
That's nuts. To wrap up here, got 2 more questions for you. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever gotten?
Best piece of business advice I've ever gotten. There's so many, bro. So many. Okay, well, the one that really changed the trajectory of how we ran was a podcast I was listening to, and I've said this a few times on other podcasts, and it still remains true, is that it's a guy called Craig Rochelle. He's a pastor, and he was saying this message about how he was able to, scale his churches and all the rest of it. And what he was saying is that you can have growth, you can have control, you can have growth, but you can't have both. You can have control, you can have growth, you can't have both. And as a business owner that's a technician going straight to wearing the business hat, all you know is control. I do it my way, people love how I do it, and so you don't really want to lose that reputation because you've worked so hard to build this momentum. So letting go and giving that control to someone else is scary. And I was at a point where I thought I was giving away control and giving people authority to take action, make decisions on my behalf, but I wasn't fully. I was still holding on to being the man and the guy that everybody goes to and whatever. So when I was listening to this podcast, I was in New Zealand, just driving from Queenstown to Christchurch. I had a lot of time to think, and I literally had to make a decision on the ride to go, all right, when I get back to Australia, I'm going to need to give authority and release control and just pull the pin. Don't treat, and just start making moves to give some of this to somebody else to handle.
It's very similar to our industry with instructors. We teach a certain way, we instruct a certain way, like the fight class or whatever it might be, and giving the reins to someone else is it's a weird feeling. You want that control. So what advice would you give, let's say someone else who has a physio practice who wants to give to other physios? How do you let go?
There's a saying that I constantly say whenever I'm like uncomfortable. It's like, feel the fear and do it anyway. Just do it. Don't ignore that it's scary. Appreciate that it is, but this is what you signed up for. And so if this is what you signed up for, is this what you expect? And this is just part of the process. And so you're going to have to let go and just do it. Now, you can do that as a big move, or you can do that into small moves to get to the big move. And I find, for me, it's easier to take the first step than take the big leap. So my advice to business owners that need to release control is have a list of all the things that you need to let go of, and then figure out which is the one that's going to be the absolute easiest thing to do right now. I can do it right now. It's easy. It's simple. I don't need to think. I'm going to get it done. And you go ahead and do it. You empower your person that you're handing it over to take control, and you get it done. And you record it. You go, I've just given this up, tick, and it's super motivating to see all these things slowly get ticked off the box, where you can kind of go, wow, I actually am moving forward in releasing this control. Because sometimes it's hard to just be like, don't be the technician, be the business owner. What does that even mean? So make the job easier, get your lists, start with the no-brainer, this is super simple, super cinch, tick them off, gain some momentum, and then slowly build to the ones that, are harder to do. That's one way, and that's the way I do it. The second way, if you're wired a bit different, is to look at, well, which one is the one that's going to give me the big return on investment of my time? Because there is stuff that you do that give you high energy and high return on investment, and there's stuff that might give you low energy and low return on investment. Okay, so for me, it's like, well, if I was to pick out of these 10 tasks, which are the ones that are going to give me the most space to be able for me to work in my genius zone, where I'm doing the high energy stuff that lights me on fire and gives a high return on investment as a business owner? Maybe it's social media, where you have to edit videos and you feel like, yes, it's important, so high return, but it doesn't give you energy, it drains you. You're going to have to give that out to someone. Because really what it is if a business owner is burnt out, overwhelmed, overcommitted, most of them will say, I don't know how to manage my time. But not every hour in the day is equal. Your hour at 3 p.m. is different to your hour at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And so there's different times of the day that you are the most productive. So what we need to do is we need to focus on energy management. What are the tasks that absolutely suck the life out of you? And if you just give this one thing away, it'll give you so much more potential to do the stuff that you are destined or supposed to do as a business owner. And so that's the second way to do it. Now, I started with the first way, then I now have released a lot of control, and I've now shifted to adopt this second strategy, which is, okay, where am I getting my energy zapped? And let me get rid of some stuff now quick and easy. Well, not quick and easy, but the big return on investment, the time, energy, and return on investment financially. Well, let's do that.
Yeah, Matt, I've never heard anyone put it like that. And
yeah.
Just the way you put it just then, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, if I make a list, I can already think of 3 or 4 things that I can sort of give to my staff that I should have given a long time ago.
Because there are 4 zones, right? If we want to go into this, it's like you have this glow zone, okay? Yep. So high return on energy, low return on financial return on investment. Okay, this is stuff that lights you on fire. Maybe it's traveling, singing. I know you sing.
Oh, sometimes.
It might be that sort of stuff. Then, so that's your glow zone. These lights you on fire, fills your soul. That's really good for you, but it's not always something like playing golf, for example. You can't just do that all the time, but you need some of that. Then you have stuff that's high return of investment, but low energy. That might be social media, because building a personal brand is key, but you might hate putting that stuff together because it takes you 3 hours. Okay. Then you have this part down here, which is low return on investment and low energy stuff. This I call the no zone. This is where you put the I'm not to do list. And then you make it very clear to yourself that, like, if it's on this list, I'm not touching it. I'm giving it to somebody else, or I'm going to delegate, or I'm going to replace myself for someone to do these tasks. But then you have your flow zone, okay, which is like, this is where you find the best state. Mm-hmm. High energy, good return on investment, you're very good at it, you love it, and there's a huge gap. This is your thing. This is where you get into a state of flow. You just do that stuff. And I think as a company, if everyone just did that, work in their flow zone, leverage off their strengths, it'll be, you go places a lot faster. So, yeah, man.
That's amazing, yeah.
Get a no to-do list from your no zone and commit to not
find the flow zone.
And get in your flow zone, bro.
Find the flow zone, Buzz. That's your quote right there. Day in the life real quick.
Yeah.
What's your day in the life? What's the schedule of yours? Like, are you a 3 a.m. ice bath type of guy? What are we doing?
Nah, I used to be.
Yeah,
used to be. Now the thing I love the most, and I say this all the time, the order matters. As I said earlier, I'm a good man of faith and always believe that the order does matter. And there's a quote in the Bible that says, like, seek first the kingdom of God. So the very first thing I do when I wake up, I just fire up my Bible chat or the Bible app, read the verses that I need to read, and then I put it through a message that I'm going to chat with 4 other guys to keep each other accountable. I go, this is what I read, this is what I think, and that's done. Okay, so the main thing is the main thing, and I get that done straight away.
What time is that?
That's generally around 6 a.m.
Yep.
And then I've got my girls that wake up at about 7.
Yep.
Shout out. Yeah, I just hang out with them, and because I want to make sure that God's first, and then my family second. Okay. I used to go to the gym a lot. At the moment, I'm not. I used to train for an Ironman, and that would be the thing that I do at 6 a.m. after all this sort of stuff, and I'd come home, hang with the fam. But because I'm not in that phase at the moment, it's flipped a little bit, which is okay.
Which is okay. Yeah, it's looking good. It's all good.
Okay. And then a lot of my high priority tasks happen early in the day. It's where I'm the most creative, where I have the highest energy. So I do a lot of ideation, a lot of content creation. I'll write some stuff, and I do that there. About 11 or 12, I'll do all my menial tasks, emails, calls, get back to people if I need to, and I do that then. and then I get back into it. So I have high green zones in like early morning to mid-morning, then emails, just stuff, urgency. Lunch, I hardly ever do, or if I do, I'm meeting with people.
Yep.
And then I do another green zone from like 1 or so to about 4, and then it's family time again. And then I might have a third when everyone's asleep from 8 onwards. But generally speaking, if I'm home, I don't really do anything except for just hang out with the girls. Yeah.
Early stages of business though, were you pretty much redlining it all day?
Where I was waking up at 4.
Yeah.
My first patient was at 5 a.m. Worked till about 7. Drove to my full-time job from 7:30 to 6. Drove back to the gym. Treat from 6:30 to 9. Train from 9 to 10, and then repeat again.
Machine.
Bro, you know, when you get the bug, you just have, and you're young, you got the energy and stuff, but it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. I think I'm in that zone right now, and I can feel.
You can feel it.
I can feel it, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is good.
That's it. And I like what you said when you said, you know, it's okay.
Yeah.
You go through seasons, and that's just what it is. It's like seasons of business and seasons of, you know, stillness,
Yeah.
and it's just going to happen. There are rhythms with every week in the year, like, you know, throughout the day, and if we understand, like, it's not all going to be, you know, roses and sunshine. It's really just about navigating through the different seasons and adapting. And so I'm in a bit of a season where training is not the highest priority. It's just running hard at the business, spending as much time with my family, and just being accountable to my, you know, my community of allied health owners out there.
Speaking of the allied health professionals, if you haven't already checked out Buzz's work, go to his Instagram. You can see that the courses he's putting up, but also all the free content as well. Speaking from someone who really appreciates really good editing and really good aesthetics, he's nailed it in the allied health space. So definitely please check him out if you're in the allied health space. Even if you're not, if you run a gym, if you run an accounting firm, mortgage broking, whatever it is, I feel like you can really take something from what Buzz has done in terms of branding, image and feel, and bring it into your own business. Especially when you actually come to one of his Proform Physio spaces, you just get a feel of who he is and what he's about in business and as a person. So I think that's something we can all really take out of today's podcast, is what makes you you, and put it into your thing. And in terms of the videography and photography space, it doesn't take long to get good. What would you say? If there's so many YouTube tutorials, there's so many gear talks, there's so many editing tutorials that you can watch, and so many creators out there that are doing wonderful things. I think pick up a good camera, budget yourself 4,000 to 5,000, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of how long you're going to be running your business, and give yourself, what do you reckon, 2 months, 3 months of just YouTube, like just
100%.
non-stop gear talk, editing talk, and it can really change your business.
Absolutely.
But thanks so much for Buzz coming on How's Business. I really appreciate your time, man, and hopefully we'll do episode 2 sometime.
100%, man. I'm keen for it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, bro.
Appreciate you.
That was good, huh?
Yeah, man. 100.